start out by bragging on our band for a second? Okay. Listen, what you don't always see is there's a lot of stuff that goes wrong with technology. I don't know, has your TV ever just not worked and it's the TV's fault? Or you get logged out of your streaming service and you're like, where's that password, honey? Well, stuff like that happens here all the time where there's some tech stuff behind the scenes that falls apart. And so Wednesday they rehearsed and everything was falling apart. And this morning there were some challenges. But let me just tell you how amazing our band is. Last week when I was online, okay, I was listening online. I wasn't watching, I was listening to the service, and it was the worship. And I literally thought, something's wrong. Because I thought, it's on my phone's on Spotify. It can't be, this isn't the YouTube feed, this is Spotify. Because the music was so good. So I looked on my phone. And it was YouTube. It was our band worshiping. They sounded like a Spotify recording, okay? It was just so good. Anyway, when you see the band in the hallways, just fist bump them. Tell them they're amazing. If you got a half-used agave gift card in your purse or wallet, just give it to them. But, hey, listen, I am so glad you guys are here. It's basically 4th of July, and you guys are in church. And you could be where all the empty seat people are, which is saving their spot on the beach right now for the fireworks. Which, don't worry, if you're joining us online because you're saving your seat for the fireworks, they start in 13 hours, okay? So it's going to be a lot of fun. Get some thrashers for us. But regardless if you're in the room or if you're watching online right now, I need you all to answer a question for me, okay? And I need all y'all, even you guys in the back. I know you want to hide out, but I need you for this, okay? So here's my question. How many of you can get woken up in the middle of the night and you can go from full-on sleeping to ready to go? Right, like if your house was being robbed in the middle of the night, you could go from counting sheep to let's go Rambo in a second. Let me see your hands if that's you. Okay. Oh, holy Rambo, Bayshore, Rehoboth. That's a lot. Thank you for all you guys who raised your hand. You are now on our church security team. We wrote all your names down. Listen, that was more than half the room, which is impressive. I am not that way. Okay, if I get woken up in the middle of the night, it takes me a while to come to and be able to function. And so I know this because the other night my wife woke me up at 3 a.m. Now, I don't know what you're doing at 3 a.m., but at 3 a.m. I am so disconnected from reality that I could think that I could be dreaming that the Washington Commanders could win a Super Bowl. Okay, that's how far gone I am. All right, I'm just kidding, Washington Commanders fans. You guys will make it to the Super Bowl at some point. But at 3 a.m., okay, I am not thinking at all. So I get woke up at 3 a.m. My wife wakes me up and she says, psst, psst, psst. She said, I hear something in our garage. She said, I think there's a wild animal trapped in our garage. And she said, it's knocking things off the shelves. And she said, I think it's a fox. Now, I was awake enough to think, well, if you heard it, this seems like a you problem, okay? Not a me problem. I didn't say that. Every single husband in the room knows a rabid fox is less scary than an angry wife, okay? So, but I was scared that there was a fox in our garage, okay? And I'm supposed to face this fox, and don't act like you wouldn't be scared, okay? So I was kind of freaked out, and so I go to the door, and I listen to the door, okay, a door into the garage. I listen, and I hear something in there, and it sounded big, okay? So I'm like, oh my goodness, she's right. And so I did what any person would do. I grabbed a broom, and I said, ready or not, here I come, and I went in, okay? I didn't have the broom, but I went in, and this is not a lie. There were cans from shelves in my garage on the ground. A bodyboard was laying over. There were animal droppings in the garage. Okay, I was like, am I in the movie Jurassic Park? What is happening right now? But I didn't see the fox. And so I went back to bed. So I went back to bed, and the next morning I woke up and I was like, was that a dream, or was there a fox in our garage? And then it hit me. I'm like, oh, no, that was that really happened last night. And so now I'm awake, now I'm alert, now I'm thinking. And so I go on our app for our garage doors. I open up our garage doors because I'm thinking I'm going to let the rabid fox out before I put myself in a room with the rabid fox. And so I open up the garage doors. I open up the door into the garage, and this is no lie. I see a turkey. standing right outside my garage doors. I'm like, it wasn't a fox. I had a turkey. Only in Sussex County can you have a turkey stuck in your garage. So the turkey runs off, and I think, I took care of it because I'm a man. So I get in my car and I leave. I come back, and Stacey says, do you know what was in her garage last night? And I have a picture of what she said was in her garage. Now, this wasn't the kitten. This is a kitten off of Google. But she said there was a kitten in our garage. Now, maybe you're like, well, what about the turkey? That was just a random turkey that was standing outside my garage. It has nothing to do with this story. I'm not even kidding. That really happened, okay? And so this random mystery kitty gets in my car hood, and it's in there for days. And I'm trying to get the kitty out of the car. And I don't own a kitten because I'm a Christian, okay? I don't own cats. This cat will not come out of my car. So Mystery Kitty went on a few rides with me. Mystery Kitty went to the beach. Mystery Kitty went to Royal Farms several times. Mystery Kitty went all the way to Gumboro. And maybe you're like, well, where's Mystery Kitty now? We should probably keep that a mystery. We're trying to have a good day here in church. But the thing is, my point is, this unwanted, uninvited guest hitched a ride with me everywhere I went. And I knew it was in my car because every time I would go to my car, I'd listen real close and it would go, meow. Now, all that's 100% true. The only thing that's not true about that is I did not carry a broom in the garage. But everything else is true about that story. Now, let me tell you why I told you that story, because all you cat people are mad at me now right now. Okay, don't be mad at me, all right? But I told you that story because have you noticed that sometimes in our lives, there's some unwanted, uninvited things that go with us wherever we go? You ever notice that there's some unwanted, uninvited things in our lives that hitch a ride with us wherever we go? And I don't know about you all, but I have a lot of those things. And I bet you do too. But I want to focus on one of those things today. One of these unwanted, uninvited things that go with us a lot of times wherever we go. And we'll put this on the screen. One of these things is we're more likely to see our differences with people than what we have in common with people. And all the cat people are like, we know. All right? But if you could just keep this up here for a few minutes. Now, have you noticed that what's trending in 2026 is to politicize everything? To demonize everyone, to focus on all the things that we have that are different with each other than to focus in on what is in common with each other. Have you noticed this trend? Anybody notice this trend? Yeah. Listen, and then we didn't invite that into our garage. It just showed up in our garage, and we're more likely to see our differences with people than what we have in common with people. And here's the thing, okay? If you listen real close to the hood of your car, your life, you can hear this, okay? And it doesn't sound like Mystery Kitty, okay? Here's what it sounds like, all right? It sounds like us saying, why do they parent like that? They're not doing it right. It sounds like, why do they date losers like they're dating? It sounds like, okay, why does their family take so many vacations? Okay, must be nice. It sounds like, why don't they put their kids in travel sports? Don't they love their kids like we love our kids? It sounds like, why did they vote for that person and then post about it all over Facebook? It sounds like, why do they look like that? Why do they talk like that? Why do they think like that? Why do they dress like that? Why do they eat like that? Why do they live like that? Why doesn't the pastor like cats? What's wrong with cats? And what's happening is we're more likely to see our differences with people than what we have in common with people. So here's what I want to talk to you about today. A new trend that I think would be better than the old trend. And we'll put this on the screen, all right? Let's just see what we have in common with people more than our differences. Would anybody like this? And so I just want to see what we have in common with people more than our differences. Now, if you're sitting next to somebody, I want you to say this to them. What we have in common is we know how to pick out a good area to sit in church. Come on, just tell them. Just tell them. You pick the same area as them, so you have that in common. All right, now, I want to do something fun. I want to do something fun to show you that we have more in common with each other in this room than we think we do, okay? So I got some questions. You've got to answer these questions out loud. If you got it, say, I got it. Okay, so how many biological parents does every single person have? 2. Okay, Some of you are confused, okay. 2, all right. How many biological grandparents does every single person have? 4. Good, okay. How many biological great-grandparents does every single person have? 16. Now we're confused. All right, we're going to end on this one. It was 8. All right, it was 8. But here's why I told you that, okay? And we'll put this slide on the screen. In just 10 generations, all right, in 10 generations, around 300 years, that would be, okay, on average, we have 1,024 direct ancestors. Now, in just 20 generations, we'll put this on the screen, you have 1,048,576 direct ancestors, which is why geneticists say that we are all at least 50th cousins. I'm not kidding. So turn to the person next to you and say, "What's up, cuz?" Now, some of you are sitting next to your spouse. And that just got real weird. And I am so sorry, all right? But it's the geneticist's fault, okay? We don't have that in common with them. Anyway, whatever. But my point is this, okay? I don't know what he said.
It's closer to Sussex County.
It's closer, yeah. It's 30th cousins, right? So what I wanted to show you is we have more in common with each other than we thought we did a few minutes ago, right? And so I think something powerful happens when we see what we have in common versus the differences we have. Now, there's something powerful that happens in a guy's story in the Bible. I want to talk to you about a rarely named guy, or rarely talked about guy in the Bible. So if you brought a Bible or you use the Bible app, head on over to John chapter 1. If you do not own a Bible, we give out free Bibles in our lobby every Sunday. We give them out by the case, so grab one on your way out. But in the meantime, we'll have this stuff on the screen in a second. But let me set up John chapter 1. In John chapter 1, it is draft season for Jesus. Jesus is drafting his disciples, okay? So in round 1, he picks Andrew. In round 2, he picks Peter. In round 3, he picks Philip. Okay, now let's pause there. Philip has a friend named Nathaniel. Everybody say Nate. Okay, so this is Philip's friend, Nate. Philip is a freshly drafted 3rd round disciple, okay? So he gets drafted, and so he has this friend named Nate, and he wants Nate to be the 4th round draft pick for the disciples. And so he goes to his friend Nate, and this is where we pick up the conversation in John chapter 1, starting in verse 45. It says, Philip went to look for Nathaniel, or Nate, and he told him, "We have found the very person Moses and the prophets wrote about. His name is Jesus, the son of Joseph from Nazareth." Now, don't miss Nate's response. "Nazareth?" exclaimed Nathanael. "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" "Come and see for yourself," Philip replied. Now, let's pause here. In case you missed it, Nate just made an ethnic slur in the Bible to thee, Jesus. Can everybody say rude? Now, Nate wasn't seeing Jesus. What he was seeing was a difference. What he was seeing was a stereotype. And we'll put this on the screen. When we focus on our differences, we see stereotypes instead of people. When we focus on our differences, we see stereotypes instead of people. Now, nobody invites this into your garage. It just shows up like Mystery Kitty. But this is where labels come from. This is where division comes from. This is where prejudice comes from. But don't miss this, okay? Nate didn't really know who he was talking about when he was talking about Jesus, right? Right? And I wonder this. I wonder if sometimes we don't know who we're really talking to when we have a difference with somebody. Now, have you ever thought you were talking to somebody, but you had the wrong person? Has this ever happened to anybody in the room? Some of you are like, "Is there a story with this?" Oh, yeah, there is. Okay. So let me set this up this way. So we have a picture we'll put up on the screen. This is the Laris family. Laris family of 7. Okay, now I love the Laris family. The Larises are great. And so, wait, hold on. We're missing one in this picture. Aiden's not in it. Okay, it's okay. I just noticed that. But here's the thing. I love this family because they are my family. All right, because Ashley here is Stacy, my wife's sister, and I owe a lot to Ashley, okay? And the reason I owe a lot to Ashley is before I started dating my wife, okay, I worked with Ashley at the greatest local restaurant that does not exist anymore called the Georgia House Restaurant. Come on, somebody. Okay. So I worked with Ashley, and Ashley's sister, Stacy, was interested in me, and this is going to sound crazy. She was interested in me because I used to have really great hair. That's true, but you're going to have to imagine that part, okay? And so Stacy said to Ashley, hey, I'm interested in this guy with really good hair. But is he like, you work with him, is he an okay guy? Like, should I, be interested in him? And Ashley said yes, which is how the most average guy in all the land got to marry this smoke show that is in this front row, okay, my wife. And so me and Stacy got married in 2007, and so I became part of this family. And so now I am Uncle Joel to Aiden, who is not pictured, and then Landon and Cameron and Addie and Ada. Okay, so a few years ago, they live in Georgia now, which is ironic because Georgia House. Anyway, don't worry about it. So a few years ago, they were coming into town, and I hadn't seen the family in like 5 years. And so we were excited that they're coming into town. And so I drove over to my in-laws with my family. And when we got there, everybody was there to see the Larisses because we hadn't seen them in a long time. So every family member was there. Even the weirdo in the family was there because every family has a weird person in it, right? Right? If you're like, I don't think we have a weird person in the family. All right, I always tell you this. It's you. You're the one, okay? So everyone is there. And actually, Aiden and Landon, they were going to be bringing their girlfriends with them. And so I hadn't met them. And so there's only 2 people in the room that I didn't recognize. And so I go to them. I'm like, okay, you must be the girlfriend. So I was like, hey, I'm Uncle Joel. Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot of great things about you. And when I said that, the whole room got quiet. Everyone went, shoo, looking at us. And these 2 girls, they laughed at me. And I thought, am I the weird family member? Am I the weird uncle? Like, what just happened right now? And no lie, they said, it's us, Addie and Ava. Your niece's Uncle Joel. And I didn't know who I was talking to. Now, in my defense, I have astigmatism. No, in my defense, the last time I saw them, they were little girls. And now they were grown people. And I didn't know who I was talking to. And I wonder sometimes if we don't know who we're really talking to. And so my question for you is this: are you seeing the right person? Or are you just seeing what's wrong with the person? Or are you just seeing a stereotype or a difference? Or are you seeing someone as God sees them? Now, let's go back to the story, okay? So you have Philip, who invites his friend Nate to go meet Jesus, and Nate, says the ethnic slur about Jesus. And Philip is like, no, you just got to come and see and experience Jesus. So basically, Philip invites his friend to come and experience Jesus. Now, let me just take a quick side note, if I can. How many of you are at Bayshore because somebody invited you to come and see this place? Okay, even if it's not true, just raise your hand and I'll make my point better. Okay, all right, hands down. Aren't you glad they invited you to come and see here? Is anybody glad about that? I'm glad about that because if you weren't here, it would be an empty room. And I preached to an empty room before. During COVID, there was nobody. I just preached to a camera. It was the worst thing in the world. I am so glad you're here. But I tell you that because you probably have some people in your life that if you said, hey, come and see and come to our church, they will be glad that you brought them here. And so we have these invite cards at all of our campuses in the lobby. Grab one when you leave today so you can tell somebody, hey, come and see. Now, recap. Philip invites Nate to come and see Jesus, right? Nate says some not so great stuff about everybody in Jesus' hometown. Now, I want to show you how Jesus responds when Jesus sees Nate, because Jesus could be mad. Let's see. Verse 47. As they approach, okay, Nate and Philip, as they approach, Jesus said to Nate, now here is a genuine son of Israel, a man of complete integrity. Mic drop. And this is what Nate says. This is kind of funny. How do you know about me? He didn't even deny it. It was like, yeah, that's me. All right, humble Nate, whatever. Jesus replied, I could see you under the fig tree before Philip found you. So get this. Nate disses Jesus, right? But Jesus sees Nate. And Jesus could have went tit for tat here, okay? Could have been like me in, July 4th traffic yesterday, just trying to get to Royal Farms. Like, I can't even get to my Royal Farms like I can in January. I can just get right there. But I'm looking around like, where are these people from? What's happening? Okay, and if you're not from here, we're glad you're here. It's just like a moment I had. It's a sinful moment, all right? It's not how what I really believe, but it's how I felt. Anyway, but here's the thing. We'll put this on the screen. Jesus always chose to see people, not diss people. Always chose to see people and not diss people. I have a crazy thought. What if our church was known for the church that always sees people and doesn't diss people? What if Bayshore Rehoboth was like, hey, that's the church that like really sees you. They don't try to diss you there. If that was what we were known for, we could build 17 campuses and still not have enough space for all the people that would come and see. Now, let me Bible nerd out for you, with you for a second. So, we got Nathaniel here, we got Nate here. Now, most Bible scholars believe there's another guy in the Bible named Bartholomew. Most Bible scholars think that Nathaniel, and Bartholomew are the same people. Crazy. All right. Now, I've studied all about this week, and I would explain to you how all that works and why people think that, but it was so confusing to me, okay? It's like some of you, when you're doing the self-checkout at Aldi and you got the bananas, you're like, I don't know what to do. Type in 4011, but whatever, okay? But it's very confusing. But just so we're on the same page, Nathaniel and Bartholomew are probably the same people. If you got it, say Nate Bart. Okay, now, if you didn't know, Nate Bart becomes one of the 12 disciples. All right, so why? Because Jesus sees people. And he saw some potential in this guy who said an ethnic slur, had an ethnic slur moment. He saw some potential in him. He spoke those things to him, and it changed this guy's entire life. And so I want us to put this on the screen. When you speak the God-given potential you see in someone, it can change their entire life. Now, I know this because it happened to my friend Denzel. I think we got a picture of my friend Denzel. Okay, we're not friends. If we were, we would be in a pay-for-new building right now, but whatever. But how many of you love some Denzel Washington movies? Oh, man, like Man on Fire, Remember the Titans, John Q. I can have a Pentecostal moment talking about these. Like, I love some Denzel Washington. But let's rewind before anybody really knew who Denzel Washington was, okay? So when Denzel Washington was 20 years old, he flunked out of college. He had a 1.7 GPA, and he basically didn't make it, so they kicked him out of college, or he flunked out, and he just left college, and he goes back to his mom's house, and he has nothing going for him in his life. He has no idea what he's going to do in his life. Okay, so one day he's at his mom's beauty parlor in Mount Vernon, New York. He has nothing to do that day, so he's sitting in his mom's beauty parlor, and there's this little old lady sitting in one of those old school hair drying chairs. You remember those? Her name was Ruth Green, and Ruth Green was the oldest lady in her church. And Ruth Green that day was in the beauty parlor, and she was staring at 20-year-old flunked out of college Denzel Washington. And she says, in front of everybody, she says, "Hey, you, one day you're going to travel the world, and you're going to speak to millions of people." And he's like, "Me?" And she's like, "Yep." And she said, "Somebody give me a piece of paper." And so somebody gave Ruth Green a blue envelope, and she wrote the word prophecy on it. And when Ruth Green walked out of the beauty parlor that day, guess what she handed to Denzel Washington? The blue envelope that said prophecy on it. He signed that piece of paper. He kept it. And 4 months later, guess who took their first acting class? Denzel Washington. Okay? And guess who still has that blue envelope to this day that says prophecy on it? Denzel Washington. Because somebody saw something in him that he didn't see in himself. And she said, one day, you're going to travel the world and speak to millions of people. Now, if she hadn't said that, well, we still know Denzel Washington, 10 times Academy Award nominee Denzel Washington. I don't know. But I do know this, okay? When you speak the God-given potential you see in someone, it can change their entire life. And Ruth Green and the Bible has a term for this. And the term is prophecy. All right, so I want you to turn to the person next to you, and I want you to say, don't diss people, be a prophet to them. Come on, come on. Now, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but 99% of you just got freaked out when I said that you could be a prophet. You're like, I can't be a prophet. I'm just Billy from Philly. I can't do all that mess, And let me not overcomplicate things, Billy from Philly, all right? So, one aspect of being a prophet is simply this. It's the supernatural ability to see something in someone they don't see in themselves and just tell them. And Moses, by the way, says, I wish that all God's people would be prophets. And let me just tell you how you're a prophet. All right, every single time, parents, you're putting your kids to bed and you say to them, hey, God's plans for you are bigger than your plans for you. You're being a prophet. Husbands, when your wife is sort of down and feels insecure, but she's going for a job interview and you tell her, hey, no. Listen, you don't need to feel insecure. I've watched you. You have the best character I know. Like, you are going to nail this interview. They should be happy to have you. And you give her that confidence. You just were being a prophet. When you say to one of your friends, listen, I see less keg stands in your future and more standing up for what is right and following Jesus, you're being a prophet. Wives, when you say to your husbands, hey, I want you to unload the dishes tonight and I want you to wash the dishes tonight. There ain't nothing else happening tonight. You are a prophet. He'll be washing dishes for days, okay? Awkward laugh. All right. Listen, I read about this author this week, and she said, she's a Christian author, and she says 40% of the good pieces of you, the good character in you, is because somebody said they saw something in you one day that you didn't see in yourself, and you lived up to that. Now, I'd have no idea how you can measure that, let's be honest. But I do know this, okay? I do know some of your best characteristics are because somebody saw something in you didn't see in yourself and they said that to you. And that's something we can do for every single person. And so Jesus didn't see Nate Barr as his ethnic slur moment. He saw a future disciple. And we'll put this up on the screen. We can see people's problems or we can see people's potential. We can see people's problems or we can see people's potential. Now, speaking of people and problems, I want to give you, I'm going to do one detour and give you one relation tip, because this is really a talk about relationships, basically. And so if you're taking notes, write this down. Don't make your relationships all about yourself. Don't make your relationships all about yourself. So I remember a few years ago, I was going to lunch with our executive pastor, Pastor Jeremy Ferruccio. I think we have a picture because you guys rarely see this guy. This is Jay Frush. And he's our executive pastor. He's always at our Millsboro campus. And this is a guy you never really see, but he is a hero without a cape. There is so much about Bayshore and who we are that is because of this guy behind the scenes. Jeremy, you know I love you, man. I respect you. If I still had that mystery kitty, I would give him to you, all right? So I do. I love Jeremy. And so I remember a few years ago, we were heading up to lunch, and we were going to do like a work lunch. And so on the way there, we're talking about life. We're talking about, work. At one point in the conversation, Jeremy said that he was starting his vegan diet that day. I was like, I'm sorry. All right. Anyway, if you're a vegan, that's great. All right. I'm just not. So we're driving up to get lunch, and we get up into Millsboro, and I was like, hey, man, where do you want to go? He's like, I don't know. You pick. And so I was not even thinking. This story is 100% true. I took Jeremy to Arby's, whose slogan is, the place for meats. Didn't even ring a bell. I'm standing in line in Arby's next to Jeremy. I'm like, hey, man, what are you going to get? And he's like, I guess a roast beef sandwich. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh, my goodness, I'm so sorry. Like, you're a vegan starting today. And he's like, don't worry about it. He said, I'll start my diet tomorrow. And I thought, well, that's how all my diets go, too. I'll start it the next day. Yeah, let's do that tomorrow. Not today. My point is, I made that moment all about me. Listen, how do we really see our family? How do we really see our friends? How do we really see random people that we run into every single day? We don't make the relationship all about us. And if you want to add value to any relationship, make asking about them a value. And then value their input, value their interests, value their perspectives, value their opinion. Even if it's Billy from Philly, who bleeds Philly Eagles green, you know what I mean? But listen, Eagles fans never tell you their opinion, so you don't need to worry about it. Right, okay. Listen, I don't know about you, But I think asking people about them and then listening to what they have to say is a lost art in 2026. It's a lost art in 2026. And the Bible says, be slow to speak and quick to listen. You know, have you ever known somebody who, if they walk into a room, their mentality is sort of, they don't say this out loud, but their mentality is sort of like, here I am. You know anybody like this? Okay, if they're next to you, don't point at them, but here I am. Oh, great. We've been waiting for you, I guess. But I'm going to get off the camera here for a second, but there's another type of person. When they walk in the room, and they're not a here I am person, they're a, there you are. Good to see you, Tim. There you are. Al, Al. There you are. Anita, there you are. Doug and Lale, there you are. The Jacksons, there you are. Okay, listen, can you imagine a church full of there you are people? Cheryl, there you are. Sorry. Straight behind you. I'm sorry. Well, I know you, Cheryl. There you are. Miss Patsy, there you are. Can you imagine a church full of there you are people? Look at these boys right here. There you are. Listen, when you make eye contact with somebody, it releases dopamine in you and them. You know that? I just gave you a way to get legally high with your friends. You're welcome, okay? You are welcome. Listen, there you are people. See people, not differences. Imagine a church full of there you are people. Imagine you're a person that is a there you are person. How do we do that? We can't make all of our relationships all about ourselves. All right, I'm going to start to land the plane, and I'm going to get back to Nate Bart, okay? Don't worry. We're going to get back to Nate Bart, all right? But I just want to say this. Over the last couple of years, I've had the privilege to baptize both of my kids. And we have a picture that we'll put on the screen. This is Nora's baptism, yeah. Nora got baptized right after she turned 10. My boy Nixon got baptized not that long ago, right before his 11th birthday. And these will always be two of my favorite moments of my life. As a dad, getting to baptize your kids, it's just the best. Just the best. And anyway, so I baptized Nixon recently. And the very next day, it was Monday, of course, and so I always meet with the Rehoboth team, my favorite people. Aren't you thankful for the Rehoboth staff? I was meeting with them. I don't know who said it, but one of them said, hey, when you baptized Nixon, did you notice that his eyes were locked on you the entire time? And they said once, you pointed to the crowd once or twice and he looked in the crowd at that. But besides that, he was locked in on you. Did you notice that? And I'm I don't know if you noticed, but no, I was sweating from my eyeballs. I didn't notice a whole lot. And I want to show you a clip, and it's a fast forwarded version of it because I will start crying and I have an astigmatism if you heard. And, but I want you to watch Nixon in this clip if you can go ahead and play it. This is my 10-year-old boy, Nixon James Tice. All right, watch him. Okay. Did you notice Nixon? The whole time, he was locked in on me. My dad has always told me that we are born looking for someone to be looking for us. And so it hit me that the reason Nixon was locked in on me is because he saw me seeing him. And if you miss everything I say today, don't miss this. And we'll put this on the screen. The thing we all have in common is we are all looking for someone to be looking for us. We're all looking for someone to be looking for us. We're all looking for someone to be looking for us. We want someone to look past our problems and to see us. We want somebody who can look past our sin and really see who we are. We want somebody to look past our problems and to see our potential. And I'm just here to tell you that person is Jesus. And that's exactly what he did for Nathaniel or Bartholomew, okay? And that's exactly what he can do for you. And I just want to say this. If somebody is labeling you because they're different than you, if somebody isn't seeing you and they're stereotyping you, don't let somebody label you who didn't make you. Listen, God made you, and the Bible says he sings over us. He knows you. He sees you, and he loves you. Now, this is really cool. All right, so whatever happened to Nate Bart? Now, when we met Nathaniel, he says this ethnic slur, then Jesus sees him, and Jesus speaks life into him, all right? And then I told you that Nathaniel and Bartholomew are probably the same people, and so Bartholomew becomes a disciple. And so he's one of the 12, and for 3 years he follows Jesus. And he learns everything he can from Jesus before the ascension. And then the ascension happens, and then what happens to Bartholomew? Well, if you could put that map on the screen. Let me set this up. This is so cool. Okay. Bartholomew is not the most popular disciple. Actually, about 14 minutes ago, you guys just learned that he was a disciple. He's not in the top 3. He's not Peter, James, or John. He's not got a cool nickname like Sons of Thunder. If he had a nickname, it would be Bart with 2 names. Like lame, right? Like what I'm trying to tell you is he's just a normal, he just blends in. He seems like an average guy until you look at this map. Because this is what church historians believe was the missionary journey that Bartholomew went on. He went as far east as India to tell people about this guy, Jesus, who saw him. Now, here's what's interesting. In Jesus' day, the average person didn't travel further away in their lifetime than 13 miles from their birthplace. That's as far, on average, as people travel from their birthplace back in Jesus' day. And this is before planes, trains, and automobiles. And Bartholomew traveled 8,000 to 10,000 miles to tell people about Jesus, to tell them about this guy who saw him. And this is the same guy who said, Nazareth? Nothing good can come out of Nazareth. So how did Bartholomew go from a skeptic to a disciple? Because he was looking for someone to be looking for him. And there was this guy named Jesus who saw him. And he spoke into him. And it changed his entire life. And these 2 people, Jesus and Bartholomew, couldn't be any more different. And I just want to ask you this. When you look at the hood of your life, okay, is there someone that you're seeing your differences with versus what you have in common with? I'm going to answer it for you. The answer is yes. My challenge for you is this. Would you try to see them the way that Jesus sees them? Would you try to see them the way that Jesus sees you? Because aren't you glad, church, that Jesus sees us? Aren't you glad?